Hello, evening. Just been out on the bike today on the Himalayan Euro 5. It is up and running. It was just the relay, the fuel pump relay, which is under the seat. I'll show you in a second, but that's essentially a relay. And I think there's been a few faulty ones on a few bikes, and there's one fuel pump relay under the seat, and then there's another one in the side panel, and it's that one that failed. So I think the advice is to always just take a spare with you, just so you can switch it out. But today I wanted to do a quick video on the arrival of the mighty Tec camshaft high performance thing. So I'm not normally one for performance enhancements, really. I always think the Himalayan is a good enough bike as it is, and you kind of have to accept it for what it is and what it's not. And you know, this pursuit of power seems to be a complete waste of time, because the gains are so minuscule. You're kind of chasing ghosts, really. But I've got a mate called Mike who fitted the Tec Cam part to his bike, and I rode it around here briefly, maybe a month or 2 months ago. And then Mike came with me on a Scottish trip up around Crieff and the Crieff Cloverleaf, and he gave me his bike to ride for a few hours. And I've got to say, just like the acceleration when you want to go past, say, 3 cars at a time or a bus or whatever, it just seems to have a bit more zip, from 50 to 65. It's always hard to tell objectively how much difference it makes, whether it's really is seconds improvements or real 20% improvements, which they claim, or whether there's just an added feeling of performance. And I think sometimes a lot of it's in the mind. But it did seem just to have a little bit more verve, have a bit more kick, have a bit more top end when sometimes the Himalayan's lacking. So Tec Cam put out, I think they put out on the mailing list that they got a new batch ready to send out or to be ordered, because it seemed like everyone wants one. Now the first batch is out, people want one, because it seems, you know, £200, I think it started a bit less, but it's gone up to £200 for a 20% increase in power. Is like, you know, like gold dust. That seems a really good deal. So they put out at midday, I think Monday or Tuesday gone, that they were going to be releasing a new batch. And I was out riding with a group that day, and with another guy who got Himalayan, and he was after one, and I was kind of curious. And we pulled up at 1:30, having forgot about the 12 noon deadline. I thought we would never get one, but because the website had been crashing, when we went on at 1:30, there were 2 still spare. So he snapped one up, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and I'll fit it to the old white Euro 4 Himalayan that I've got. So I ordered it, £195, which seems, you know, there's a lot of petrol you can buy for £195, or a set of tyres or whatever. But anyway, so, you know, just to clarify, I've not been given this as a, you know, bought with, I'd like to say hard-earned money, but you know what I mean, it's my own cash. So let's have a look, see what we bought. Box, paper, and then the cam and some instructions. Cool. Ah, there you go. Okay, so there's a pin for it. I just saw a dyno chart somewhere. Let's see that. Maybe not. Anyway, so really what we've got is a new cam, which will need the head off the engine, and I think it's a job for myself to do. You know, it's kind of DIY mechanic ability level, and what I guess I like about this is it's an actual physical mechanical part that you're changing. When I tried the Powertronic a year or 2 ago, it all just seemed too faffy, you know, lots of cables and wires, and it added vulnerability to the bike, to me, without any real gain. So I just thought that was an entire waste of £280, the Powertronic thing. And I know if you're trying to get fine tune it and to get it the ultimate performing beast, maybe you need one. But as a day in, day out sort of enhancer, it didn't really do much for me. So this, I like it because it's a solid bit of metal, which once you've bolted in, don't need to faff around, shouldn't really introduce any weaknesses to the bike. Well, that's it. I don't know if you can see that. So they cast this or ground it from a single piece of billet. There's also Hitchcock's, which they reground the original. So it just changes the profile to give it more top end. You know, you always think, well, why didn't Royal Enfield do that? And I think that's always a query with aftermarket. That's always a query with aftermarket stuff. Why, if you could easily get 5 brake horsepower from that, why didn't Royal Enfield do it? Kind of, in a way, it makes no sense. I'm sure it's down to emissions and tolerances and things like that, but effectively what it is just to take the head off, put that in, and that should change the performance of the engine. Almost seems too good to be true. And, you know, and the claim of 20 brake horsepower, or 20% or 5% brake horsepower claim, yes, so I know on the dyno it does it, and but it's kind of, that figure is irrelevant. You know, it's seat of the pants riding, I guess, which you want to feel the difference. And when I've ridden the bike in the past, it did seem to do to make that difference. So I'll do a video on fitting it and then riding it. And essentially what I'm going to do is, fit it to the Euro 4 bike. So I'll just show you. If we just unclip this. So this is a Euro 5 bike that I've been out on today with a guy called Rob, doing a one-on-one sort of Himalayan adventure day. So teaching him bits about basic maintenance and off-road riding, really. So we've been out on the trails doing some trail riding. So if anybody's curious about the relay and where that goes, under the seat. So on the Euro 5 bikes, they put this bank of relays here, which I don't know if it's a new set of relays or they've just moved it around from a different place. But the mechanic who's fixed it has put a white mark, and I forget which. One's an indicator and one's a fuel pump. I can't remember if that's the one to mark. So if that one fails, if your bike don't start, see, because when you know it's a fuel pump, you hear that noise? Do it again. That noise there, that noise. So that's your fuel pump priming. And if you are turning the bike on and that's not happening, that's your fuel pump sense relay generally, or it seems to be. So I think that one that is marked that because that's your indicators. So in a drama situation, you could take that one out, put that one in. And then you'd obviously wouldn't have indicators or maybe lights as well, but the bike would start. But the problem I think he found, or there is there's a second relay in here, behind this panel. A second relay that controls the fuel pump. And it was that one of mine that was faulty. So the fix isn't a big fix. The problem isn't overly a big problem. But I would say, if you're heading out anywhere far distance, maybe just grab a few relays. So I think you can get these from Hitchcock's or any other electrical supplier. Not overly expensive. I haven't even clue how much that is, but I don't think it's a lot of money. And I'm just going to tuck that under there, wrap it up, put it under the seat, and then if I have a problem, bob it in. Away you go. It just seems, I think there's a bad batch come through, and it's just a case of identifying which are the bad bikes. It's one or two as I'm seeing on the forum, so it's not like a groundswell of bikes that are failing. But yeah, it's just something to be aware of and maybe preventative. If you're going off on a trip, going up to Scotland on your Himalayan or around Wales, maybe just grab a relay. The spec will be on the Hitchcock's website or something like that. So yeah, just grab that and away you go. So yeah, as for the cam, that's going to go on this bike. So this is a bike I rode back from Bulgaria on a year or two ago. And this is a bike I was just going through with Rob just to show him air filter and where the valves are, valve check, wheels off. Then we did puncture repair and stuff. But essentially, as you can see, there's no relay box there. It's somewhere else. I mean, there's relays there, so there's a different bank of them there. But I don't ever think there's been a problem on the Euro 4 ones. It seems just like on the Euro 5, maybe a new supplier of relays or something like that. So to fit this, essentially, I believe this head comes off. Unbolt this head, take the head off, and that goes in. I've got to watch the instruction video, of which they've done a good YouTube video. Then away we go. We'll see if this one makes it into a flying machine. I'll try and do there's some good apps on the phone that time, your 0 to 60 time, and maybe if I can find a rolling 50 to 70 app that times that, or something along those lines, some sort of marker, so that when this is fitted, I can get some measurable gains. Also, watch this space. I'm looking at an event that might be an opportunity for all those performance enhancing people, Himalayan owners, to come together to find out really who has got the world's fastest Indian. So yeah, we're working on that one. So it's been a good day, actually. Good trails. Rob, on his late Euro 4 model, running the standard Seat tyres in quite deep mud or sludgy mud, did really well. And I've got some footage to put up, but people say, what's the right tyre? Well, for me, you can always find the perfect tyre, but the problem is when you're travelling or you're away and you're doing long distance stuff and you're finding a few trails or whatever, you're not riding on perfect tyres all the time. So setting out with perfect tyres, it's kind of great, but sometimes, I know some won't agree with this, but it's better or productive to learn how to ride on crap tyres or slightly inappropriate tyres. And then that gives you such a better slight finesse, control, an ability to ride in suboptimal conditions, so that when you do whack on a new set of knobblies, then you can start to really progress, and then you can really start to make the most of the bike. So I don't necessarily think that if you want to go trail riding, that you need to whack on a new set of tyres to give it a go. I don't think that. I think the tyres on it aren't maybe the best off-road tyres, but they're not the worst off-road tyres, and they won't stop you giving it a go. So rather than spending £200 on a new set of tyres to find out you don't like off-roading or whatever, I would say just accept that these tyres aren't the best in the world for off-road riding, but you will stay able to progress down a lane. You just don't have to lean on them too hard. You don't have to think, I can push this bike, I can run wide into a corner, I could run hot into a corner, or I can brake late or whatever. You just have to accept that tyre has got a point at which it's going to give or move or slide or slip. And that's a little bit further back than what a knobbly tyre would be. But it'll still do it. And the lovely nature of the Himalayan engine with that long stroke motor, you never find traction at the rear is a problem. You're always finding traction at the rear. It's just that sometimes, obviously, with 209 kilos wet, sometimes, obviously, when it's slowing, that front's wanting to push and wash out. And it's just learning to cope with that and learning when it will do it and when it won't do it, and when you've got grip and when you haven't got grip. So that tyre isn't terrible. So don't think you have to go out and buy new tyres just to give trail riding a go, because Rob did it exceptionally. Never done it before. A bit of a lesson at Sweet Lamb. He come down with me. We've done some quite interesting lanes, and he's gone away in one piece, more than happy. So that's it. God, can you imagine a Himalayan with 29 horsepower? It's going to be a flying machine, absolutely flying machine. Eventually, I think they'll make a Himalayan with more than 30 horsepower, second generation, and then we'll be in for some good times. Till then, from the green mean fighting machine, it is almost like a Ninja Turtle effect, isn't it, that tank? I'm not sure whether I love it or hate it yet, but when it's dirty, it definitely looks better. All right, cheers, I'm off to bed. Okay, I've just whipped the side panel off just to show you, to investigate. So yeah, there's a little fella there. So there's a second relay, and I've just whipped it out. Right, okay, relay out. No noise. So that's looks to be clearly another. That's a fuel pump primer or fuel pump relay. So whack that back in. I mean, look, it's easy. It's easy. Absolute goose would be able to change this out. So it's nothing to be worried about. Let's pop that back in. So it just squeezes in. That's it. So if it's not that one, try that one. The end. Right. There you go. Happy days.